think we'll get started. Wake up a little bit. I know that like digital asset management is a super sexy topic. I'm Adriana Vecchio. I work for headquarters OPA web team.
DHS, you should say.
DHS headquarters.
I'm James Glasgow. I'm a contractor with DHS.
Okay. So we're going to talk about digital assets, predominantly multimedia assets, videos, photos, and to a certain extent documents, but the primary focus is multimedia. So DHS in 2012 was faced with Hurricane Sandy, and it covered pretty much the entire department, all of them going out and responding on scene. You had CBP, Customs and Border Protection, the Coast Guard, and FEMA, hundreds if not thousands of content creators taking images and videos and attempting to send them back to headquarters to interface and finding it extremely difficult. Lots of sending 5 images at a time via email because that's all that fits, or compressing things really, really small because each component is currently siloed. So CBP has their own library and FEMA has their own library. Coast Guard is somehow even more far removed than that. And communicating those libraries to each other was basically impossible. Trying to send large files has been a consistent problem, before Sandy, but really illustrated by Hurricane Sandy, and trying to show what the department does, how it responds to disasters, the really good and important work that we do was made extremely difficult. So to help address this, FEMA initially built Diamond, the Digital Imagery and Media on Demand System. It was created by FEMA for FEMA with the idea of scaling it to the enterprise, but we weren't able to expand it enterprise-wide due to a lot of, government issues. This is kind of stuff that I'm sure you guys have all dealt with, having an authority to operate, having it cleared by security, making sure that all of those steps are done takes years. And we tried so hard, but we weren't able to scale it to all of DHS because of those issues. So we went to Emerald. We've got a thing for gemstones, apparently, the electronic media repository and library for distribution. And yes, that acronym was made so that it spelled Emerald. The whole goal of Emerald is to solve this problem, to make libraries where someone from CBP can upload something and I at headquarters can see and access it and then put it on dhs.gov without having to email someone at CBP and say, do you have any imagery of the border? Can you send me some examples? I'm specifically looking for something in landscape or portrait or these dimensions. A lot of time is wasted doing that. This is meant to solve that problem. So there's multiple parts to Emerald. The primary part is public facing, so it should integrate with all of DHS's main sites. All of us are running Drupal, and it's intended to interface with all of them. So there's the Emerald integration into, for our example, dhs.gov, and the Emerald system itself. There's a lot of ways in which this is important. The key for there, illustrating information to the public, giving examples of training and operational component work, historical records, because this integrates well and sends things to the National Archives records, and support of other critical functions when we do have another major hurricane, which is inevitable, being able to support and highlight what DHS does when that happens. So what are the benefits? Well, for one thing, consistent metadata, because our Emerald pulls the EXIF information from the the image itself that's put on by the camera. So a lot of the work is already done. If the camera has GPS tagging, then it imports that information. If the camera has, the date that it was taken, the GPS, where it was taken, the original size, all of that information, and then enforcing specific asset types, images, graphics, videos, and requiring specific data, having a descriptive title, having keywords and tags to make things searchable from a taxonomy that's standardized. A single repository for all of our components. DHS likes to say, we're one DHS, but having all of these operational components, having all their own information siloed has made that extremely difficult on a practical level. So having a single repository where we can just upload things one time and not have to go to each individual office and say, can I get access to this? Also, making sure that assets, some great imagery that we have and have had sometimes get lost because it's in a file folder somewhere. And if I need to search for stock imagery for flags, I may never find it. We might have, the perfect imagery with acting Secretary McAleenan in front of flags giving an impassioned speech, but if I can't find it, it's worthless to me. Being able to categorize similar assets. So again, once everything is indexed and tagged, once you've gone through that process, I can click on the taxonomy term, Secretary McAleenan, and see all of the photos he's been tagged in. See all of the photos that are tagged flooding, if I need to, put up something for flood awareness. And then improved record keeping. So this supports the life cycle of our assets. I did say it does integrate with NARA, and by that I mean that on a schedule, it sends assets to NARA for us, making our jobs a whole lot easier. And then the ability to archive stuff or even have information that is internal only. So while there is the public-facing side, you can choose to mark things as internal only, that it's not intended to be public. And it won't be public, but it'll be available internally as internal use assets for people who are in DHS who can go and see it. So do you want to talk a little bit about
Oh, sure.
just a little bit about some of the benefits specific to Emerald other than just content management?
Okay, one of the benefits that we're using, the first item, it bypasses the PHP file upload limit. We're using the file resumable upload module, which basically just gives you a widget with some JavaScript that will chunk the file into, I think, 2 megabytes and send it one chunk at a time, which allows you to have a file. Well, I think we have the limit set to 2 gigabytes at the moment, but you can have it really whatever your operating system can handle. And we have those files after they're put through the moderation process and are published to the public. They're automatically uploaded to Akamai's net storage service, which is hosted, through their CDN. Those files can be delivered very quickly and securely, any size file. So using Drupal as the backend interface for Emerald, we have great user permissions. We're using organic groups to divide components. So DHS has one group, so all their files go there, and CBP has one group. TSA has one group. They can have all their files all there, but other people from other people in any other group, they can access that content. For the most part, it just gives you, certain permissions for the users to see who can do the moderation, who can review it, and make sure it has all the proper information you need, make sure it's 508 compliant, and then approve it for public use. Because each department will have to have their own people doing that. So yeah, we're using the Workbench module for the content moderation. We have it in our Web Content Management as a Service ATO environment. That was one of the biggest problems we had with Diamond, is we couldn't get the environment that it was built in ATO'd. But this web content management environment has been ATO'd since what, 2012? And then we have the benefit of having those large files. So if you have an hour-long video at 1080p that's 1.5 gigs, it can be uploaded. It may take a while, but it can be uploaded.
Yeah. This, for me, the biggest thing working for the web team at DHS, the biggest component for me that I'm so stoked about is that large files. Because trying to get our components to send us video is a nightmare, because you want high quality HD video, and that comes at a cost, and the cost is the size of the file. Right now we're using, military alternatives that are sending individual files, but the ability to just have it all in one place where we don't have to bend over backwards to get those videos, I am stoked about.
So now she's saying she's stoked about it because it's not quite in production yet. Hopefully next month.
Hey, I'll take next month. So it is easy to use if you can use a content management system. You can use Emerald because it's built in Drupal. The biggest benefit of that is that all of our content authors are currently using Drupal 7, and they'll be able to use pretty much a very similar interface. Things are slightly different, but any build of Drupal is just a little bit different. Nothing crazy different, so hopefully they're not too shocked and find it really easy to use. The housing costs are minimal. I mean, we were able to actually build this, and finding money for tech projects can sometimes be a challenge, I think, in every department of the government. We know it's secure because it's built within the same system that we're currently housing all of our Drupal instances on. And it's extendable because it's open source and we can build on it. We've got Drupal developers like James here and like my team for DHS.gov who can actually make changes if we say we need to extend like the video module to have these capabilities. We can actually do that instead of having to then go out and bid a new contract to find someone to, make changes. Okay, so you input the asset into Emerald. You're a photographer, maybe, a videographer. You input the asset. It doesn't just go public right then because that's not how anything works. It has to be approved and reviewed and then, scanned and made sure that it is safe. So there's security scanning built in. So if it's approved internally, it's accessible internally only. No one in the public is going to be able to access that. So maybe you've got team building pictures of your staff and you want to put them on your internal sites. That's perfect. This is what you want. You don't want to make them public. There's no reason to. But if you have public information, pictures of your leadership, pictures of your facilities, pictures of the work that your teams are doing out in the public, then it gets approved for public use and it's accessible on all of our major sites. So if Coast Guard wants to put up some of headquarters' pictures, they can do that. If ICE wants to grab stuff that belongs to CBP, Border Patrol information, they can put that up on their site because it's all accessible across all of those different websites. So it starts out in draft like everything in Drupal and then gets scanned by the system, making sure that there's nothing malicious. Then it goes to review, and currently we have a reviewer approver process. So separate people, not the original asset owner, but whoever is in charge of content for that office would review it, and it gets approved for either internal use or external use and then published. And once it's published, it can be used internally or externally, depending on what you've allowed it to do. And then it's done. You're done. It's all up. It's awesome. So we currently have our component members. Predominantly for us, these are photographers and other owners like myself who get assets to upload. We have struggled to try and make it as flexible for the component members as we can. Most of them are not working with, their government issued laptop out in the field. That's not how you're taking photos. A lot of them are taking them and transmitting them on their iPhones. So using the VPN on the iPhones, we've made it so that you can actually log into Emerald and upload it directly from your government phone, which was a crucial part of getting Emerald to work because, again, in the Sandy example, you've got people who are trying to transmit that information. They may not have the ability to go to a place where they can plug a laptop in and log into your system with your PIV card and send it. All they have is their phone. They may have taken their picture on that phone. So making sure that they were able to upload the assets from whatever they had available was crucial. Then you get your component reviewers. These are generally people in a managerial capacity, people who have some oversight. Some in the past, our reviewers and approvers for some offices have been the same people. We are trying to make it so that the reviewer and the approver are separate individuals so that more people have eyes on it. Generally, the component approver has to be a federal employee. That's just the way that we run things. Sometimes the approver can also be the publisher, and that's totally fine. But then the administrator is someone like me who oversees all of the system and makes sure that nothing is where it shouldn't be. You want to make sure you don't have anything FOUO in your public space. And if I get flagged for having something FOUO in the space, I'm going to immediately go and take it down. It also gives me the ability to add and remove people. I'm hoping to have more administrators than just myself, although I think the reality of it is going to be I'm going to be the only active administrator. But, I'll be able to train people, show them how to use the system, and then grant them accounts, or when they leave, revoke their accounts because they won't need access anymore. So relatively short, although James has a demo for you of the system.
Yeah, if we run out of questions.
Yep.
Okay, the question is the gal says that you said you were from Judiciary? Okay, she said she was from Judiciary, and several years ago they went to FEMA, looked at Diamond, and was hoping that it would be available for interagency use, and is wondering if that's going to be available. Yes.
Would y'all like me to take this one?
Yes,
Yes,
Kathleen.
please.
So I'm Kathleen Tracy, Web Content Management as a Service system owner and the actually technical system owner for Emerald. So we have to look into working with the CTO's office on what we're able to share. We've been able to share a lot of our modules that we've developed back to Drupal.org. Given the scope and the complexity of Emerald, we're going to have to go through some clearance processes to make sure what we can do is share. And it might be that it's something that we can share interagency through government to government, but not something that we would share to the outside world. Right now, we're doing the final push to get the bow on it. It's actually ATO from a security standpoint. It hasn't been approved for final use by public affairs. So the security pieces have been done, which is nice to know because that was the big blocker with Diamond. However, we need to figure out what we can share and how we can share it. Because I don't think we're going to be putting it out on code.gov or Drupal.org, just given the complexity and how much it plugs into our other Drupal systems. But I'm happy to give names and be able to. My name is Kathleen.Tracy at hq.dhs.gov. Or catch me after the presentation, and I'll give you my contact info so you can follow on.
Yep, in the front.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about the technical implementation in terms of your use of Akamai and storage? Are you guys using Drupal 8 media module? What is that?
Okay, so the question is about the technical implementation. So right now, Emerald is built in Drupal 7. When we started building Emerald, 3 years ago, Drupal 8 didn't have the media module as part of it. It was a separate module. There were some other reasons. I can't remember what they all were, but we decided to build it on Drupal 7, hoping that it wouldn't take 3 years.
Drupal 8 was in beta when.
Oh, that could have been. I don't
When we
remember.
started.
It's been a while. So the plan is, when at least for the Emerald side, when we upgrade it from Drupal 7 to 8, to integrate, with the media module. As for your question about Akamai, how we have that working, Akamai's net storage has, you have the ability to upload files via SFTP. So I wrote a custom module that basically uses, I can't remember, some open source PHP library that's added by a composer to take the private key, connect to the FTP server, and upload the file. And once that's uploaded, it takes the public URL that Akamai would assign it, and it puts that in the managed files table in the database for that file, it's basically telling Drupal, hey, this file is now located over here.
So I guess I'm piggybacking on my last question. I'm thinking about storage costs, the hosting costs for minimal. Raising my eyebrow with me, because the scope of your project suggests that storage will be a significant concern as it scales up. Are the assets, did they continue to reside in Akamai in your architecture?
Yes.
Okay, so the repository includes the Akamai integration.
It can be either. You can have it stored on whatever system you happen to have. If you have it on server in the back, in your back closet,
Yeah.
you can have the media stay there. We just have, we have the Emerald Net Storage module is the name of the module that I wrote to transfer it to Net Storage. So whether or not that's enabled, if it's enabled, it'll upload on publication. If it's not enabled, it'll just stay on your local file system. And it doesn't have to be Net Storage. Like I said, it just connects to an SFTP server. So any SFTP server can be used.
Right. So your storage costs are considered wherever your storage is.
Yeah.
Apart from your web hosting part of the
Yeah.
And then Drupal or Emerald is managing those assets at a distance.
Yes.
It's aware of them at all times. If there's some preservation.
We haven't run into any preservation issues. We have, Adriana talked about the National Archives. We have that in place to automatically submit stuff to the archive for something, it needs to be there for, the next 150 years. As for file preservation on Akamai, I'm sure they have several backups that they do.
Essentially, we're using Akamai because since we're using large video files, we can use their large file object for video playback, which is that's the value because it's set up to do streaming of either we can use Akamai for live streaming or recorded stream. And that pointer could be anywhere. It could go to S3, it could go to another drive or whatever. But why we're using Akamai is that specific reason. But it's just a pointer. So what we would need to do if we decided, hey, we're not going to use Akamai Net Storage, we want to go to S3, we would have to, you would have to write a routine that would update the pointer. But there is within the Drupal module in that table, it's the connector between the video. So if somebody goes in and manually moves the file, it will work.
Right.
But there's no manual access to that part of, like 2 people have access to that part of the storage. So it's not like any people who are actually uploading files, it's all done through an automated process. So myself and James who have access to being able to touch files in that area, and we're not going to but the point is that it's outside of our normal, how we calculate our hosting costs. Emerald's assets are actually outside of that. Long term, we're going to have to deal with the cost implications of that because what we're expecting is a ton of B-roll, and we'll have to talk to the components who are using this if they want to use that as the end repository or if it's just something that they're going to be using as a SharePoint, a sharing point for one to another. B-roll is a big part of the work that we do, especially sharing it back to, say,
News
television stations,
yeah,
and
news
things like that.
organizations.
So we need to work through a lot of the actual implementations, which we're going to do once we go live. So I think there's a bunch of policy issues that are once we've done the technical part, and then we're the policy part strongly, and some of that's we're going to have to work on the fly with the people who are actually doing the work in the field.
And you probably already know, there's a lot of open source projects today in the States as well. WGBH Boston has done a lot with open source software for managing large.
Yeah, I see that we're going to see a
video,
lot of, there's going to be some synergy that we may be able to come up with. So,
Yeah.
but right now, the business driver was really being able to have ourselves connect with one another.
Yeah.
Because right now, we're waiting for the CD to arrive. I mean, that's
Yep.
these days, that's.
That literally happens. I get DVDs mailed to me.
Make copies of their assets.
Yeah, there's a number of things that, from a policy standpoint, we would need to do, but yeah, I think, at least we'll be able to share things within the department better, and that's really the waiting for, I was at Public Affairs waiting for, visual imagery from Ike and Gustav, and I was getting it from the Army Corps of Engineers, because their stuff was up first. So, this is, even though there was great imagery, we couldn't get it to put it on my DHS.
Yeah.
Just to follow up really quick, so I want to see if I'm understanding this correctly. When you guys have an asset in this system and you put it on one of your websites, it's acting as a pointer back to the net storage, or are you re-uploading it to that group?
No, so it all depends on how it's being used. We have an API. So Emerald's sitting over here on the side. The API for the website, dhs.gov, when you go to search to find an item, you go to the search page, it gets the information from the API. If you want it, basically it just gives you a page with the asset ID as part of the URL, which is the node ID that's sitting over here in Drupal. That's one way you can share it. You can also just, add it in an image tag. We have a WYSIWYG plugin that allows you to say, okay, do the search, find the image you want to put in, tell it which one of your image styles that you want to use that's on your site, and it will automatically copy it over and do your image style so it fits in your presentation. So it can be done either way. So.
Hi, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your taxonomy governance and who controls it, and users are allowed to add their
I control it.
terms.
Oh, you're all laughing? I am not kidding. DHS.gov used to have an open form taxonomy field. You put text in, it was a keyword. It was created. So I think when I started, we had DHS secretary, secretary of DHS, Homeland Security Secretary, Secretary Johnson, Secretary J. Johnson. Like, you get my drift. We had a bunch of interns and rotational people come in and clean it up. And we actually used to have someone at DHS, who I believe is since retired, whose title was lexicographer. And his whole job was to create and maintain the terms, the official terms for DHS. So we use that, and it's now a search field. And if you enter something that's not in it, good luck, because it's not going to save it, because we'll just run into that exact same problem. If people want taxonomy terms added, I tell them that that's totally fine. They can request them and then provide a justification for why it needs to be added. If you want a taxonomy term for one page, you don't need a taxonomy term. That's just not how it works. We have about 190 authors at dhs.gov alone, not even accounting for CBP, USCIS. It is just unwieldy to have a taxonomy that is not reined in, so that's the model that we use, and that's why.
So to go on with that, we do have the OG taxonomy module, which works with organic groups, which is what we're doing for our components. So each component, they can use the DHS taxonomy. They can also create their own taxonomy vocabulary with their terms, if they choose to. So, any other questions?
Yep.
Talk a little bit about like training and rollout to different types of
offices involved, and how to kind of get involved at the state of acting, or, entering this in a way that's useful.
So right now I have not trained anyone because I, for the last 4.5 years, have been unwilling to say that this is coming until about last month. Because the issues we had with Diamond, people would start to ask me about Emerald, and I would just say, it's not, I'm not talking about it. It's not ready. I'll let you know when it's coming. So we're only now starting to roll this out to people and say, this is coming. In about, I think, the next 2 weeks to 4 weeks, I'll be tapping some of my more experienced reviewers on dhs.gov and giving them accounts in the system to go, and basically I tell them just poke around, take a look, tell me what you think, here's the basic functions of the system. I'll also probably be tapping those same people to teach their authors and content creators so that I don't have to train 190 people myself. We also have a web liaisons group for our components, and we just need to pretty much get them all in like a chat face-to-face, like Skype, and just get them up to speed once this is ready, basically. But I'm probably going to roll it to, like I said, our DHS reviewers, people that I've known who've worked on Drupal for years, who are very familiar and comfortable with the system, to kick the wheels before we have everybody kick them.
Is there like a mobile upload component or anything to this, being able to upload directly from your work phone?
Yes and no. It's not like an app, it's just mobile responsive. So you would have to be inside the VPN, and our work phones do have the ability to log into the DHS network. Due to obvious security concerns, this does have to be accessed from a network approved device. So once you log in with that VPN, like I was saying, our photographers will be able to just upload things directly from their phones.
Or their laptop, as long as it can connect to the VPN. So.
Yep.
So we do have an import API, so an app could be written in the future to allow that. Okay, any other questions? Anyone want to see a demo?
I want to see a demo.
Notice the URL has Diamond in it because I started work on this before we had a name for Emerald. We're going to upload assets. So you have the option here. You can upload multiple files at a time if you want. We can come here, find,
Which I did want, and is already functionality we do not have.
I got to figure out where my pictures are. I got pictures here somewhere. Let's see, here's a bunch of pictures. So I can come here and select a bunch of pictures of birds that I took and hit upload. So of course this is nice and quick because it's just uploading to my local system.
That's okay, I can dream.
From my home with very slow internet, it can take several minutes for a picture. Okay, so what this does is when you open upload multiple images, it puts it in a Drupal queue, which allows it to be processed via cron, or you can manually process it. I can go ahead and just hit process, and it'll go through and take all those files that are uploaded, create an asset for each one, and it takes a while. So I'm going to do the manual or the upload of just one while that's processing all those. I'm going to just do a photo asset, and I'm going to take my file. Which picture? That one works. We'll just drag that over there. Upload the file. Now this file has some EXIF information in it, including a title. Look, it already filled in our title field. It took the description from that image as well. I can scroll down here and see what else. Here's the date and time that it was taken. Here's the photographer listed on the photo. This is a photo I took 3 years ago. And it assumes that this is my user account that was logged in, so it assumes I'm the one that wrote the caption. Automatically gets the copyright information from the photo. We can go here and say, okay, we want it to be in the DHS media library. And of course, we have our topics. I doubt you have a topic for mountains, so that's surge capacity force. How about that? And then let's see. Let's hit save, see if there's any required fields that I missed. Nope. Okay. So here's the image. Notice in the lower right-hand corner we have a map telling you exactly where in Alaska this picture was taken. You can see the other information that's listed here. I'm going to go ahead and publish this. Once an asset is either moved to approved for internal use or published, it automatically kicks off an indexing. Yes?
So if you have another size or a different vantage point of this image, can you relate other images to the same image?
You could, using taxonomy would be one way to do it. That'd probably be the easiest way to do it, is through taxonomy.
So you want to be able to say, this is version A, version B, version C.
Right now you can put them in an album and say, hey, here's this, if you wanted, my trip to Alaska. And say, these are the pictures I took. That's one way you could do it.
On here?
That's what it's called. It's called collections now.
So we do have there's topics, which are the mainline topics of DHS.gov. They're the same in Emerald as they are on our yes, it is on our DHS site. But we also have collections. So with the collections, we're a lot less fussy than we are with the taxonomy. So if they're like the Secretary's Awards, we would just put all the Secretary's Awards photos into one collection and label it, Secretary's Awards or Secretary's Awards 2019. And that way you can have maybe not the same image of the same mountain, but related images can be put in collections together, and they can be put in multiple collections and referenced that way, in addition to the topics and the keyword tagging.
Do you allow, once you put, say, 20 into that collection, does the same taxonomy apply based on folder structure? So I don't have to add in taxonomy for each individual image, or can you set it across?
Right now it has to be on, well, you can do it two ways. You can associate from the image, go to the image edit page and choose from a list of collections. I actually think it's auto-complete field with your collection name. Or you can actually go to the collection page. If you're the person who created that collection, you can edit it and do the same thing with an autocomplete field to find the different media assets you want to appear in that collection. That's currently the only way to do it.
In here, when you upload the photo, you're uploading it at the original file size.
Yes.
Yes.
Does you have the ability to also have it automatically create various file
Derivative images? Yeah.
and file types?
If we scroll down here, you'll see here's several different derivative image types. You have the original link here, and then different sizes based on what you need. Those are automatically generated using image styles, so we can add any style that we want.
Yeah, the ones that are there are just the ones that we determined most useful for our purposes. So if you wanted to have ones based on different file types, that was not a priority for us, but that's something that could theoretically be added to the Emerald code.
So here's the client module that we're using. basically the client module sits on dhs.gov, and it connects to our Emerald server to pull assets in. And for some reason, it's taking forever to load. It's not a network issue.
It is weak.
Okay.
But yeah, I need to kick the wheels more, going back to the tagging multiple images. We've had that issue of putting publications into collections on dhs.gov. And on the back end, I've created and extended a series of views for my own purposes, and used the batch processes and added them to those views, which are set to like technical administrator level, so I'm pretty much the only one who has access to them, where I can add multiple collections to multiple different files, and it actually has given me the option to either append it to the existing collections or replace, which I always choose append. So I haven't kicked the wheels with the views in Emerald, but I have no reason to believe that we couldn't do that. So.
Okay, so this page I'm trying to load, /media library, it's supposed to have a hero image with, or which
There you go.
select. Oh, there we go. So we got the hero image, and we have a list. We know how many, assets there are in the system currently. This is on my local system. We can have a caption here that can be collapsed and opened with a link to visit this photos page. Now, these hero images, these are chosen by a site administrator. They choose 3 or 4 of them, and it's just it's random. So we can see this page. This is the page. If there's no caption listed here, but you have various information. Here's a download link to the original. You have your details, and then a link to your photo use guidelines.
Yeah, so for the photo, this is the public view on dhs.gov versus the logged in, DHS only internal view that we were on previously.
Yes.
So it's had a lot of moving parts, this project.
The photos that you see in the carousel at the bottom, these are just the most recently published photos. Notice that the very first one is my image of Redoubt Mountain. If we click on this browse link, it actually just takes us to the search page, which gives us a list. These, with the asterisk is the keyword, so it just gives you everything. If we want, we can say, hey, sort by the most recently updated.
Then while that sorts, you can see we have the collections, which we were just talking about, and then the topics, which are the mainline dhs.gov topics. Generally, the topics remain the same. They're tied to a lot of stuff on DHS, but the collections are significantly more flexible and intended to give people the ability to, upload Hurricane Sandy photos all together, border photos all together, versus the mainline topics that are tied to the main functions of the department.
You also see on the right-hand side here, we have these filters. These are faceted search filters. So you can see topic, there's 2 academic engagement. And then, there's 2, these both are media type graphic, and Amy Thornhill did this, and there's 2 people credited. Was writing, test. Well, it's a development system. One other thing that, this is the part I love the most. If you're creating content, let's get some dummy text here. Okay. I'm going to go put my dummy text in here for the body. We're going to switch this to full HTML because that's the text format that I have currently it set up on. But I can come here. Yeah, I know there's a lot of misspellings. That's what happens when you have random Latin words. I have my embed from Diamond. Notice this is still the Diamond client module that I wrote 7 years ago, 6 years ago. Okay, and this gives us our search. So if we want mountain, we can see the image I just uploaded, Redoubt Mountain. I can click on it. Here's the description of the image, or the alternate description that will be put in our alt tag. And then we have a caption, which we can choose, add to it if we want, or just use the caption that's stored in Emerald. Then we have a size. These are, we have thumbnail, medium, and large, the ones currently selected. We actually have the ability, if we go to our WYSIWYG settings, this page lists every image style on the site, and you can choose which ones show up there. So I'm going to choose the large image style. And yes, I want to link to the original asset. So I'm going to hit embed. Okay, there's the asset in my WYSIWYG panel. I'm going to go, I want it to be aligned on the left. That'll cause the text to wrap around it. And then I'm going to go ahead and keywords. What do we got?
So keywords is a open text field for anybody to add whatever they
Well,
to search, that's the taxonomy that's locked down that I was talking about.
Okay, so that keywords are also locked down.
Yes.
So, and this is specifically on dhs.gov.
Okay.
So this is their, blog node ad form. Let's see, and I need to select workbench access. And let's see if I missed any required fields. I'm good at that. Okay. I didn't miss any required fields. So right now we have, let's increase the size a little bit. So you can see we have our dummy text. We have the image here. We're using a module called image captions, which allows your image to have a caption. It puts it in a nice frame. And then you have the link to the original, or to download the original. What this link actually does is it takes you back to this assets page on dhs.gov with this download links to the original. So let's see, go back to edit this page. Let's see, there it is. Notice after I embedded it, I right-clicked and chose image properties. It's a little, there we go. So I chose the left alignment. You can make that left or right. If you don't set it, then the text won't wrap around it. But the image caption module also adds this caption field to this image properties page, so you can edit the caption here as well. So that's the end of my demo. Any other questions? Okay.
Thanks, guys.